Now, there's another argument about small states losing their influence, that they'll be affected. I guess they took the bottom 25 smallest states and attributed how many electoral votes they have, and because they would get more electoral votes. But they sort of cancel each other out on the as you look at all the small states.
Well, again, you're going to design a presidential campaign strategy based on the resources you have and based on where you can drive out the most votes to support your candidate, all right? Exactly. And that will be countrywide. So when people, and there are folks out there that just can't seem to get past, well, this is the way it's always been, and, you know, isn't there a problem? No, there's not. In fact, smaller states, this will make them relevant. I make the joke all the time. Take Rhode Island, take Connecticut, take smaller states like that. You know, the only whiff they get of the presidential campaign is when the jets fly over on their way to New Hampshire.
Well, the only small state that's battleground is New Hampshire, I believe, and the rest are all flyover.
They're all diesel fumes. That's where the planes fly right over the top of them on their way to New Hampshire. No, I think you create a system, and we're not changing the Constitution. We're not changing the Electoral College. You're just changing the way each state, and this is why it's a states' rights issue. The state gets to determine how to award its electors. And you change that, and you tie it to a national popular vote, suddenly every vote matters. Suddenly there's all kinds of incentive to drive out votes from coast to coast. And this gets to another issue for me personally. They say Minnesota is a blue state. I told you over lunch, it's not. It's very conservative. They told me that when I started running for governor, I was, if not the most conservative member of the Minnesota legislature, I was certainly within the top 3. And while that was great for getting endorsed as a Republican, once you're endorsed, you'd have to run to the middle if you were going to win the governor's race in the state of Minnesota. You know what, Tom? That's not true. You cannot be somebody today and then say you're somebody else tomorrow and then expect to go back to being somebody that you are today. The electorate is too sophisticated for that today. We, as statewide candidates in Minnesota, Pennsylvania, elsewhere, you have to run to the whole state. And you have to be consistent. You got to run on your message, and you live and die with that message. And in my case, I proved to them that if you run on a conservative message in Minnesota, we got almost 1 million votes. I think the presidential candidates of this country should be forced to do the same thing. I think they should have to campaign in every state from coast to coast, north, south, east, west, on their message. And that message should be very clear to voters. It shouldn't be tailored or designed just to one state or 2 states or 3 based on where we can win the Electoral College under the current system. National popular vote would force candidates to actually campaign border to border to every candidate in this country based on what they believe and not based on a message that has been designed by professional marketers for just a specific number of battleground states. And for me, I believe in our message. I believe in the Republican message of smaller government, individual liberty, and economic freedom. I believe the majority of the country is with us. And if conservatives believe that, then they should support national popular vote. Frankly, Republicans should.